Welcome to Rover Sports, Sunday night wrap up. We're here on an NFL day, and we watched the best thing last, which is, of course, the Patriots and the Buccaneers in a misty, rainy Foxborough. This game didn't disappoint. Both teams let it all out, and Tom Brady brought emotions and his family to Foxborough. Your thoughts about this game, Spencer?
This was a really good game. I wanted the Patriots to win, but I loved the defense in it. I loved how they emphasized the running game, like Leonard Fournette, and I really enjoyed how these teams, like it was kind of a throwback to football, in a sense that this was about running the ball. This was about special teams. The weather wasn't great. It wasn't just a shootout type of game. And really it was about quick passing game and trenches and coaching. And it wasn't just like this fantasy, scoring 40 points, no defense. And it wasn't, everything was challenged in the game. And I liked it. Every play had an emotion to it. There were no throwaway plays. There were no throwaway defenders. Each defender in the game, each person that stepped foot on the field had a job. And if they weren't doing their job at the best of their ability, they were going to get exploited. And the Patriots threw out all the stops against a stacked Bucs team. Triple reverses, Bill Belichick dialing up all sorts of different looks. Matt Judon playing well, and the Patriots are 1-3, and for them, they're going to have to go to Houston. They have the Jets on the schedule, and then they have a huge game against the Cowboys sandwiched in between. They're going to have to get back to 4-3 if they're going to have any chance of making the playoffs in an AFC that is just loaded. And for Mac Jones to start 1-3, and for him last week to not be able to beat the Saints, a Saints team that just lost to a team that's never won before. I mean, the Patriots have a lot of work, Bruce, and as they're sitting here at 1-3. I mean, what did you think about the Patriots, their progress, and what did you think about Brady and his return to New England?
Well, the Patriots knew that they didn't have a running game. So when you know that, Mac Jones had 19 straight completions. That's a rookie record. The weather was terrible. It was wet ball out there. I thought Mac played tremendous, good enough to win. I had a problem with trying to go for a 56-yard field goal in really inclement weather. It was 4th-and-3. They should have just gone for it on 4th-and-3. They would have had a chance to win. I think looking at Tom Brady, he managed the game well, and Mike Evans really had a good game. He was really their best wide receiver. But looking at the Patriots fans, they showed good sportsmanship because they really cheered Tom Brady. But when the game started, they were booing. And the weather was terrible, but it was a full house in Foxborough. And I also liked Collingsworth. I thought him and Michaels did a nice job of dissecting the game. The camera work was particularly good. They really homed in with some high def, people's facial expressions. And I thought it was a game that could have easily been a letdown. It could have easily flopped with the big buildup. But I think it went right down to the final second. And it really was a great football game to watch, and it had a lot of meaning to it. So that's what my thoughts are. We saw a game earlier where the New York Giants were down 21-10 with 7 minutes left in the fourth. And for all intents and purposes, they were going to fold 10. But Daniel Jones came up with his best game of his career. And why don't you share your views on that?
Yeah, it's exciting to get a win, and it's a win that needed to be had for Daniel Jones. Saquon Barkley played a huge part in this game. I just think for these guys' psyche, it's big to get a win like this because the offense has kind of been playing well the last couple of weeks, and they haven't had anything to show for it. So finally, they end up getting a win. I don't know how meaningful the win's going to be because it's just one game, and the schedule is just so daunting. You're going to have to play the Rams in 2 weeks. You're going to have to play the Cowboys, and the Cowboys are putting it all together. and the Cowboys are playing great, and you have to go there next week. But for this game, they needed it. Jones was really, really good. I've said on the show many times that I don't think that he's, the franchise guy. He had one really good game today. I want to see Jones continue to play like this. I think he's stepping up in the pocket better. The pocket is cleaner for Daniel Jones. Kadarius Toney played fantastic. Galladay and Saquon. And I mean, the key for Jones, if he's going to prove me wrong and kind of have this type of season, is he's going to need the center and the offensive line. He's going to need the offensive line to really keep him clean. But again, the experience helps. Obviously, with Jones, he has to stay healthy. I mean, he had a good game against the Eagles last year. Then he got injured versus Cincinnati. He was out 4 weeks, and the season pretty much was over. So it's about consistency with the Giants, and at least they took their first step in terms of winning this game. They're going to have to go into Dallas. If they want a wild card, they're going to have to win next week, and then at the Rams, because the schedule gets really hard, and they're going to have to run the ball with Saquon, and they're going to have to win a tight game in Dallas, a low possession kind of grinder of a game next week. But for this game, seeing Daniel Jones, seeing him have a clean pocket, and seeing the resiliency of them to come back and really just keep punching when they were down by 11 and not fold made you proud to be a Giants fan. But I was happy after the Tampa Bay game a couple of years ago. I was happy with the Giants when they beat Seattle too. So it's an exciting win, but at the same time, it's one win. And this team and this franchise has got to become relevant again. And I'd be excited if they can make the playoffs, because they do have some ability on this team. And if this defense comes and plays well, if the offense can have any sort of consistency, they can win in Dallas. They can maybe beat the Rams at home. They can be a wild card team, and that would fulfill the expectation, because unlike the Eagles, they paid this team to be good this year.
When I look at the game upcoming next week, I see Dallas has a chance of looking past the Giants. They had a big emotional win at home against the Eagles. They really poured it on today, and they're coming home, and they might just be looking past the Giants. And this game in the NFL is always full of surprises and upsets. So if the Giants can somehow get a win against the Cowboys, everybody in the division, including the Redskins, the Eagles, everybody is going to be back in. So everybody's counting on the Giants to knock off the bad boys from Big D. And the way they played today, Danny Jones threw the ball 40, 50 yards at a clip. Defense looked better. The offensive line is protecting. Saquon Barkley is going to have to run the ball. They're going to have to take the air out of the ball. They're going to have to wear down the Dallas defense. And I think it's possible, and it's going to be an exciting game. And I just think Dallas could be down. I just think they're ripe for an upset.
Well, I don't know.
We'll see what happens.
I think that Dallas, I mean, they look like a team that is a Super Bowl contending team. And I look at Kellen Moore as an outstanding offensive coordinator. Dak. This team has a ton to like. And Dan Quinn, defensively, they could, Trayvon Diggs has like 4 interceptions on the season, and he had 2 more today. So, I mean, I look at the Cowboys, and I think that they can get after Jones, and the Giants' defense was very susceptible today. A touchdown got called back. Their pass defense still got eaten alive today. So it's going to be a very, very daunting task. I mean, the Cowboys with Dan Quinn look for real right now at 3-1.
Going around the league, obviously we touched upon the Patriots and Bucks. Any other surprises today or anything noteworthy to comment as we conclude the show? We are Rover Sports. Yeah. We're based in Philadelphia. We're on 97.5 HD2 on Tuesday nights. That's our actual live radio show, but we do podcasts throughout the week. And just to touch upon the Philadelphia Eagles, we attended that game in person. And the Eagles actually kept it close in the first half. They had a 10-7 lead at the end of the first quarter and kept it close, but just made mistakes. They literally had 3 touchdowns that were reversed on dumb penalties and things such as illegal men downfield, offensive interference. The Philadelphia Eagles lead the league in penalties with 44 penalties in 4 games. And they've got new coaches. Jalen Hurts has only played 4 games, really, 5 games as a starter. So the Kansas City Chiefs scored 7 out of 8 times, scored touchdowns. So the Chiefs look really dominant, and Patrick Mahomes had his way. The Eagles linebacker core really couldn't tackle anybody, and it was just kind of. It started off, it was fool's gold here in Philadelphia, but then the Chiefs rolled. So the Eagles, for the third time in the history of 80 years, have let up over 40 points in 2 consecutive weeks. So Jonathan Gannon, defensive coordinator for the Eagles, they really have to do some soul searching and have to turn it around, or it could easily be 1-6 in Philadelphia. Other comments around the league? Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I'm curious, next week, I mean, the Eagles are very fortunate that, a possible, one of the best running backs in football, McCaffrey, is hurt, or else McCaffrey could have a field day. Sam Darnold today, he didn't look that great. Third quarter, he turned the ball over twice. The Panthers, they beat the Saints, which is a decent win. They also played the Jets and the Texans, of course, looked terrible. They lost by like 40. So, I mean, that game next week is going to be more of a defensive game than people are going to give it credit for. But the Panthers' defense is actually going to play the Eagles well. The Panthers should be able to win next week, because I don't think the Eagles are very good. And after one really good win in Atlanta, it's going to be tough for Sirianni to keep this team on the right track. Eventually, I think that the prep this week was good. I think that the offense put out a good product. So I think that the prep was decent for this game against Kansas City after a horrible loss to the Cowboys. But how good is the prep going to continue to be? And that's why for these teams like the Giants and the Eagles, the Giants want to beat the Saints. Eventually, your prep goes to crap. I mean, when you're 0-5, you start to practice. I mean, human psyche just kicks into gear, and then you just start to become who you are. Just like what happened to Detroit. They had a chance to beat a Baltimore Ravens team. They had them right on the ropes, and Justin Tucker made a field goal. Ball hit the crossbar, and it deflated them, and they came out and played their worst game of the season and just were mentally weak. There's a lot of mentally weak teams, and the Lions today, all of their players, all of their coaching staffs, they got embarrassed by a bad Chicago Bears team starting a rookie quarterback. The Lions were a joke. They disappointed everybody. They disappointed their whole state, and it's disappointing because I believe in Dan Campbell, and I want Dan Campbell to get this right. So I wanted Dan Campbell to get it right. Also, Drew Lock took the field today. I'm a big Drew Lock fan. However, it was a lifeless second half. And there are questions if Drew Lock can lead a team because his receivers weren't on the same page. They were lethargic. Teddy Bridgewater has a way about him. I mean, I haven't met Teddy Bridgewater, but everything you hear about him, he really has that locker room right now. And you look at Fangio and Shermer compared to Locke, and I mean, Locke, I think he might need a fresh start, and it's very tough to demand a trade, or in-season trades don't happen. And the Steelers just look lost with Big Ben. And you're wasting Mike Tomlin's best years. You're wasting TJ Watt's best years. You're wasting this great defense on a quarterback that is just not good. This offense of the Steelers is a joke. They're 1-3 now. They've lost 3 consecutive games. I don't know why the Steelers wouldn't make an attempt to go out and get a quarterback in Drew Lock that's played a lot of games in the NFL as a starter. I don't know why the Steelers are content with just laying back there. They could trade for Jimmy Garoppolo, a Super Bowl, a guy who's won the NFC before. I think that the Steelers should make a move like that.
We have a question from Lisa from Reading up in the northern part of the state. Where's Cam Newton? Will he ever wear an NFL uniform again? He's I agree, Lisa, he's very eccentric personality. He's been prone to injury. The New England Patriots let him go abruptly in a surprise. I think it's okay to let Mac be the starter. But there's something behind the scenes that makes me think that something's just off with Cam Newton. And if you're a Steelers fan or even a Texans fan, just one of these franchises that needs a quarterback,
Right.
you think they take a flyer on Cam Newton? You probably get him pretty cheap
I
right
think
now.
the Texans.
What do you
Would
think
be,
the
I think
story
the
is?
Texans would be a great choice. I mean, the one thing about Cam Newton is that he's not that mobile. His arm strength, I just, I don't. I mean, it would be very interesting if. I mean, if you're going to get Cam Newton and he's going to play well with his shoulder surgeries, you're going to have to get Cam Newton running the ball. But I think Pittsburgh, it's a tricky situation because they have, a Hall of Fame quarterback. They have one of the best quarterbacks that's ever played there in Ben Roethlisberger, and they're a franchise that wants to do right by its traditional values.
It's hard to bench him.
It's hard
Just
to.
like
It's hard
if you
to
remember the
bench him.
Giants with Eli at the end.
Right.
It really was tough when you have Ben there. You think he's going to come back after a bad game, and he's always come back before. He's so resilient, strong, and if you're a Steelers fan, you figure you have a better chance of winning with him than with somebody else. But it's just it's just looking bleak there in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and the thing is about the Big Ben is that if you don't treat him well, it's going to cost you in free agency, and your franchise is going to take. I mean, if you treat your legends poorly, that's about the worst thing that you could do as an organization. And I guess it's unpopular to say, but I even think that's more popular than what you put on the field on Sundays is how you respect guys that have been there for 18 years and how you respect like a Ben Roethlisberger and these guys. And I just think that goes a long way, for your franchise in the way that you treat people like that. And that's why the Steelers are wrestling with this dilemma right now. And it is difficult, but they are going to draft another quarterback next year. It'd be great if, our guy Carson Strong could go there because he really would fit Pittsburgh well, and he's a great pocket passer. So
Sure is.
that would be tremendous.
And he just came back from a big win. Nevada just beat Boise State away. Boise State is better than an average team, always at home, a tough one.
Yeah.
And Carson just came up with a big victory. The only downside of Carson is he's had some knee troubles. He's a big guy, 6'5". He's not that mobile. But there are many quarterbacks who just know how to move in the pocket. They don't have to run. But he's got a cannon of an arm, a great, I think he's had some great coaching. He really understands the air raid offense.
Yeah.
And he's got a ton of enthusiasm. He could ignite a franchise. And I'm a
really
big
think
Carson
so, too.
Strong fan.
I think he cares. I like seeing guys who really care deeply. And that's what you see the great players do. You got to see sometimes that passion for the game. And I think every Hall of Famer really, unless you're just an incredible talent, all Hall of Famers have passion for the game and just love it. Like without football, they wouldn't really be anything. And I certainly enjoy the game, and I enjoyed the NFL today. The Cardinals got a big statement win, and I know, and it's interesting. We're just in October, so it's a long season. Each week things change so rapidly. It's incredible.
And even a longer season.
And each game just
17
matters.
games is a long season.
Each game matters so much. I mean, the Falcons today had Washington on the ropes, had a chance to get back to 2-2. They lost. They're 1-3. Mac Jones, that field goal goes in. You stop Tom Brady. You convert some of those red zone opportunities. They're 2-2, and they're feeling really good going into Houston. Instead, they're 1-3. So, it's just a hell of a journey. It's just a great season. And today was, Zach Wilson and the Jets getting a win was a big deal. And there was a lot of great
Every
games.
dog has his day. So when you think Giants, Redskins, Jets win on a particular day, a beautiful fall day,
Cleveland.
unseasonably warm, Cleveland, warm all over the country, really good weather, but for Boston where it was rainy, but yet not super cold. So yeah, a lot of great football yet to be played. Again, we are Rover Sports, and it's myself, Sports Doc. I'm here with Spencer G. We also have Charlie Bowles, our gambling expert. Coach Dash is our college basketball coach, and of course, Dr. Steve Lewis, the other sports doc. We're on wwdpam.com again on Tuesday from 7 to 8:30. There's going to be a ton to talk about in the world of football, college and pro. We are Rover Sports, wwdpam.com. And I want to tell everybody, thanks for logging in. You know, it's almost 1 o'clock here in the East. Ton of people, a lot of people, a lot of your personal friends and people who follow the show.
Really appreciate
Chris
it,
and you're a
yeah.
lot of those good people out there. And a lot of people want to hear the Giants
thank
take.
them enough.
And great people, and I'm just glad
I'm
to be
excited too. I'm
be a
excited
moderator.
too, but
Glad to moderate the
I don't
show.
want to get too high. You know, I've made the mistake of getting too emotional over one win, and I want to see this thing continue. You know, I want to keep a level head because I don't want to be disappointed. And if you're a Giants fan, you know, unfortunately, it's disappointing a lot of the time. I guess you can look at it like you got to enjoy each win, right? But at the same time, you want to achieve, you know, and at least today was a really good step. So it should make for a great week of practice, and
Yep.
just exciting. You know, the NFL is exciting. I can't wait already till next week. But today was a phenomenal day. You know, we had, you know, Seattle beating San Francisco. We had the Cardinals, like I said. Jimmy Garoppolo's banged up, so that's going to be interesting. Justin Fields pretty much got started. You know, I'm sure things are going to play out in Jacksonville. There's just so many storylines. The Texans, the Titans. There's a lot of storylines in the NFL. Carson Wentz getting his first win today. Will that propel something special? Raiders, Chargers still to go tomorrow. Still going to watch that. Can't wait for that. It was a really good day.
One thing you can't take for granted is you saw Patrick Mahomes play in person. Never seen that before. You're wearing a red shirt. There's a reason for it. And Patrick Mahomes is a wizard. He just has a great feel for the game. He can scramble out, get 10, 20 yards. He was able to throw 3 touchdown passes. Tyreek Hill, Edwards, Hilaire, hard to say that name, almost 200 yards from scrimmage. And you saw Andy Reid with an emotional win. He's won over 100 games for 2 franchises, for Kansas City and Philly. He was welcomed back to Philadelphia with cheesesteaks and a lot of great food. And I like to see that. Andy Reid is one of the good guys, even though the Eagles are 1-3. I'm looking to see if Jalen Hurts is their quarterback and if Nick Sirianni really is the coach of the future. This is a rebuilding year. The Eagles, you know, have a lot of dead cap space. They have 3 first-round picks. And I'm just trying to enjoy what I can of a season that's going to be a losing season. So a lot of different subplots. Great working with you, Spence. And everybody have a great night. As we always say, good night and good sports.